Hey you guys, my name is Cassandra McClure and I am a friend of Scott Carson, and I wanted to talk to you guys for a minute about my relationship with him and how he's helped me in my business in several different ways. So I found Scott online. I'm pretty sure that it was on YouTube or Instagram, and I saw that he had a podcast and he was actually looking or teaching all about summits. So I watched this like really long presentation about summits, and I'm a podcaster too. So I was like, respect for the industry, respect for his trade. And I thought, wow, like I was pivoting from a conference, going from, planning a conference and having everything set for September to everything's postponed due to COVID-19. So I had to pivot quickly, and through Google search and the video that I found of Scott talking about all the way, like it was like 10 ways that a summit is different than a webinar or something like that. And so I wrote all those down and I reached out to him because I had seen one of his things before about podcasting. And so I was like, I didn't recognize his face and the Note Closers show. And so I sent him a DM on Instagram and I said, hey, I just have a question about this one thing. I was wondering, because you said that the webinar is not, if it's a webinar is different than the summit, and this is the difference, but Zoom doesn't call it a summit. So I'm just confused. Should I still buy the business account on Zoom because it calls it a webinar? And I know it sounds dumb now that I was asking that, but he's like, no, that's what we use. That's, and it wasn't clear in the presentation. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, well, what are you working on? We started talking, and he was mentoring me through the other questions that I had. He gave me all these ideas, and I told him that I'd implemented these strategies in, and he saw in me what I do, which is I'm super aggressive. I move really quickly. I want to make sure that I'm promoting myself 100%, doing everything I can for my business because I'm an entrepreneur. And so I asked him on another call, do you know anyone that is in the health and beauty space? And he said, yeah, I do, actually. There's this girl, Kim Seltzer. So I said, cool. He goes, I think she does makeup and makeovers and different things. Well, Kimmy came on my podcast, and she was at my featured speaker of the week at my Clean Beauty Summit last week. So everything went full circle for that. And after the summit, and I think he saw it, shared it on his LinkedIn, was super supportive, and shared it on his Facebook too. He was retweeting and didn't really ask much of me. So I just thought it was so cool to have that support, especially from a guy that, because it's very woman-based. So then I get a message that I got invited into this podcast group. So I go in the group and I see that Scott invited me. And so I did a live video that said, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. This has all happened within a month, by the way. So it's a very, like I said, I kind of move quick, and these opportunities keep coming up, right? So I posted in there not knowing who was in there. I just said, hey, I'm looking for speakers. I would love to connect with more women. I'd love to speak on health. If anyone on health, wellness, fitness, I would love to talk, to any doctors. I'm working with an oncologist. I have my own beauty brand. I have my own podcast, and I have now a summit that turned in from a conference. So Scott, of course, tagged more people, and other people saw it. And then I just got off of a call right now with someone named Laura, who does a lot. She has lots of books. She is a business owner. She has a podcast. She does Reiki, all sorts of things. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we had a call, and she's going to be a speaker for me on May 3rd at my Clean Beauty Summit. So, and I'm going on her podcast. So and this is just the beginning of my relationship with Scott. I think there's a lot of potential. And like, if you're looking for a mentor or a coach or advice, he's like a great person to talk to. I love like how enthusiastic he is about everything, and also excited for someone else's success. I've been like that my whole life. And there's a lot of people out there who act like they want to help people, but then they really won't help when they need it the most. And I think, you know, I was in a very vulnerable position to need like help about how do I do this summit. I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't want to embarrass myself. I didn't want the, you know, thing not to go live. And so he just gave me a lot of strategies to help. And I love that he has so many free pieces of advice out there, and that he's constantly working on something with other people, collaborating, and he is a natural connector. And ever since I was little, I was able to say, oh, I know this. Like if someone needed, you know, anything, I would be like, oh, I know this girl who has this. And I would be connecting them. And I never knew the power of that until really now, where I do coaching myself and I do consulting for businesses and ambassadors. And it's just really cool to kind of see someone else that's like, you know, it's inspirational to see like there's other people out there like me. And I think that's why we had such a strong connection. And I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way if you're even watching this, because you know Scott's amazing. He's such a sweetheart. And that's actually a quote from Kimmy. She called him a sweetheart. And I was like, yeah, he is. So thank you to Scott for like all the help and the support and the partnerships and the introductions. Even wrote an email introduction to Kimmy. So I really appreciate all of that. So anything I can do for Scott, I'm here. Thank you so much. Bye.